Every morning the factory doors open, big machines turn on, workers take their places, fire and metal work together. This factory makes lighters, very strong lighters, millions of them every year. They are sent all over the world. People use them at home, people use them at work, soldiers use them in war. Fire is important. Fire gives light, fire gives warmth, fire helps people survive. One company becomes very famous, Zippo. People know the name, people trust the name. If you drop a Zippo, it still works. If it gets wet, it still lights. This makes people believe it will last forever. The company makes a strong promise. If the lighter breaks, they fix it. They do not ask for money, they do this for life. This promise teaches a lesson. Good products build trust. Trust builds strong brands. Zippo becomes part of culture. Movies show it, music shows it, heroes use it. The sound of the click feels powerful, the flame feels special. The company grows bigger, sales go up, factories stay busy, leaders feel confident, charts rise, the future looks safe. This teaches another lesson. Success can feel permanent, but it never is. Slowly the world begins to change. People smoke less, people need fire less, new tools appear, new habits form, old needs disappear. The factory feels it first. Orders slow down. Machines rest longer. The flame is still there, but it is weaker. The company still stands tall, but the world around it is different, and this leads to a hard question. How does a company so strong begin to fall? Chapter 1. Before the big factory, there was just an idea. Before millions of lighters, there was one man. His name was George G. Blaisdell. He was not rich. He was not famous. He lived in a small town in Pennsylvania. In the early 1930s, America was hurting. People had no jobs. Money was hard to find. The Great Depression made life scary. One day, Blaisdell watched a friend struggle. The man tried to light a cigarette. The lighter worked, but barely. It broke easily. It was hard to use. Blaisdell saw a problem, and he saw a chance. He believed one thing. A lighter should always work, no matter what. He took a simple lighter design. He changed it. He made it stronger. He made it easier to use with one hand. He added a lid to protect the flame. This was risky. Money was low. Failure was possible. But Blaisdell believed in quality. He believed people would notice. He believed trust mattered. He named the lighter Zippo. The name sounded modern, strong, American. At first, sales were slow. Only a few people bought them. But those people noticed something important. The lighter worked. Every time. Word spread. Friends told friends. Workers told workers. Blaisdell made a bold promise. If it breaks, we fix it. No matter when, no matter how. That promise cost money, but it built belief. This small shop began to grow. One table became many. One worker became a team. The company was still small, still fragile, but the vision was clear. Make something simple. Make it strong. Stand by it forever. The empire had not arrived yet, but its heart was already beating. Chapter 2. The breakthrough did not come from size. It came from one simple idea. Make a lighter that always works. At the time, most lighters were weak. They broke easily. Wind blew them out. People carried matches as backup. That was normal. Everyone accepted it. But George G. Blaisdell did not. He changed the design. He added a metal case to block wind. He used a strong hinge. He made it easy to open with one hand. Then came the boldest move. He promised this. If it breaks, we fix it. For free. Forever. No other company dared to say that. Competitors sold products. He sold trust. This made the lighter different. Not cheaper. Not prettier. Just reliable. People noticed right away. Workers bought one. Then told friends. Then bought another as a gift. Sales slowly climbed. Then climbed faster. During World War II, everything changed. Soldiers needed fire. They needed something dependable. They chose Zippo. The lighters went to war. They survived mud, rain, and cold. They came home with stories. Demand exploded. The small company could not stay small anymore. This was the moment, the point of no return. Zippo was no longer just a product. It was becoming a symbol. And the rise had truly begun. Chapter 3. Growth did not happen by accident. It was built, step by step. The company learned how to scale. More workers were hired. More machines were added. The factory grew larger and faster. Production became precise. Every lighter looked the same. Every lighter worked the same. Quality never dropped. Distribution spread wider. First across America, then beyond it. Zippo traveled overseas. Smart marketing followed. The product spoke for itself. No loud ads, just proof. They let people test it, drop it, shake it, use it in wind. It always worked. That built belief. Logistics improved. Orders shipped faster. Supplies arrived on time. Nothing slowed the line. The company listened carefully. They did not chase trends. They protected the core product. That choice mattered. While others copied cheaply, Zippo stayed consistent. Same shape, same click, same promise. Market share grew. Competitors faded. Zippo became the standard. If someone needed a lighter, they asked for a Zippo. Not a lighter, a Zippo. Culture followed business. Movies showed it. Musicians used it. Soldiers carried it. It became more than a tool. It became an identity. Fire meant confidence. The click meant certainty. By now the company had earned it. Every success came from discipline. Every gain came from trust. They were not lucky. They were prepared. This was domination. Strong, respected, undisputed, and at the top it felt like nothing could ever take it away. Chapter 4. This was the high point. The moment every company dreams of. Zippo was everywhere. They led the industry. Others followed. Most failed to keep up. Their lighters sold in huge numbers, millions each year. Money flowed steadily. Profits felt secure. The factory never slept. Day shifts, night shifts, metal and fire moved non-stop. The buildings grew larger. More space, more machines, more workers. The factory became a symbol of strength, of American making, of pride. Around the world the name spread. From small towns to big cities, across oceans. If someone needed a lighter, they wanted one thing, a Zippo. The brand felt untouchable. Movies showed it clearly. A hero lights up. The lid snaps open. The flame rises. That sound became famous. The click meant confidence. It meant control. Music stars used it on stage. Fans copied them. Collectors lined shelves with versions. Special designs appeared. War memories engraved. Logos stamped. Stories carried in metal. People did not just buy Zippos. They kept them, passed them down, told stories about them. Public trust was deep. Admiration was real. The company felt respected. Inside the business, leaders felt proud. Charts stayed high. Plans looked strong. They believed the future was safe. They believed the flame would never go out. At this point, they ruled their world. But power can hide danger. Because while the factories roared, the world outside was changing. Quietly, slowly, almost unseen. Smoking habits began to drop. New technology appeared. Fire mattered less. No alarm sounded. No panic followed. The success was too loud to hear the warning. And beneath all this greatness, something small was starting to shift. The flame still burned bright, but the wind was beginning to change. Chapter 5. The change did not arrive loudly. There was no meeting filled with fear. No sudden mistake. No clear villain. It came quietly, slowly, almost politely. At the top everything looked fine. Sales were steady. The brand was famous. The factory still worked. So the questions changed. How do we protect this? How do we stay strong? How do we keep profits safe? The answers sounded smart. Cut small costs. Move a little faster. Think more efficiently. None of this felt wrong. The world was changing. People smoked less. New products appeared. Electronics were everywhere. Leadership believed the core idea would last. Fire would always matter. The brand was too strong to fail, so they made careful adjustments. Production became more optimized. Processes became tighter. Decisions became more financial. Not worse, just different. The mindset slowly shifted. From craftsmanship to management. From passion to protection. The lighter stayed the same. The shape stayed the same. The click stayed the same. But the thinking behind it changed. The company focused on what it had, not what was coming. They protected the past instead of preparing for the future. New ideas felt risky. Big changes felt unnecessary. Why fix something that still works? So innovation slowed. Experiments stayed small. Comfort replaced curiosity. This felt logical, even responsible. The brand was trusted. Collectors were loyal. The name still carried weight. But slowly the lighter stopped being essential and became symbolic. A keepsake. A memory. A habit. The company did not lose quality. It lost urgency. It did not lose customers overnight. It lost relevance over time. This was the hidden flaw, not greed, not laziness, but belief. Belief that the flame would always be needed. Belief that history would protect them. Belief that dominance meant safety. Inside the success, resilience was thinning. The world outside was moving faster, quieter, cleaner. Fire was no longer central. Convenience was. But the company stayed still, and by the time the change was visible, it was already deep inside the system. The fatal shift was not one bad choice. It was many small reasonable ones, each invisible alone, together, unstoppable. The flame still burned, but it was no longer leading the way. Chapter 6. The first signs were small, easy to ignore, hard to explain. In some regions, sales slowed. Not everywhere, just a few places. Certain stores reordered less. Certain distributors waited longer. It felt temporary. A bad quarter, a local trend. Nothing global. Inside the company, a few voices noticed. Customer letters changed tone. Not angry, just different. Some complained about relevance, not quality. They asked, why do I still need this? Others mentioned alternatives, disposable lighters, electronic tools, new habits. The product still worked, but fewer people needed it. In meetings, concerns were raised, quietly, carefully. What about younger buyers? What about smoking decline? What about new technology? The answers came quickly. Our numbers are strong. Our brand is trusted. This is temporary. And the numbers agreed. Zippo was still profitable. Factories were busy. Collectors were loyal. Charts looked healthy. Revenue held steady. Margins stayed solid. That made it easy to dismiss doubt. In some countries, regulations changed. Smoking became less common. Fire became unnecessary. Still, global sales covered the loss. Growth elsewhere filled the gap. Leadership felt justified. Marketing stayed the same. The message stayed the same. The product stayed the same. Culture, however, was shifting. Fire stopped symbolizing freedom. It started symbolizing harm. Health conversations grew louder. Young people stopped carrying lighters. Phones replaced pockets. Convenience replaced ritual. Inside the company, these changes felt distant. The factory still hummed. Orders still arrived. Paychecks still cleared. Warnings came as whispers, not alarms. A missed market here. A lost retailer there. A smaller audience each year. Nothing dramatic enough to panic. Because success creates noise, and noise hides cracks. Leadership trusted the past, trusted the brand, trusted the math. They believed they had time. After all, nothing had fallen yet. The flame was still lit, but beneath the surface, pressure was building, and the cracks were already there. Chapter 7. The crisis did not arrive in one explosion. It arrived as a wave. For years the company had stayed steady. Strong brand, loyal buyers, quiet confidence. Then the outside world pushed back. Smoking rates fell faster than expected. Governments stepped in. Rules tightened. Warnings grew louder. Fire was no longer neutral. It was dangerous. It was unhealthy. It was discouraged. Suddenly the lighter was no longer just a tool. It was part of a larger problem. Stores began changing layouts. Tobacco products moved behind counters. Some disappeared entirely. In certain countries, regulations hit hard. Advertising limits, sales restrictions, public pressure. This time it was not local. It was global. At the same time, cheap disposable lighters flooded the market. They were everywhere. They were easy. They were forgotten just as fast. Customers asked hard questions. Why pay more? Why carry this? Why keep fire at all? Sales dropped visibly now. Not slowly, not quietly. Numbers turned red. Graphs bent downward. Reports changed tone. For the first time the decline was public. News stories followed trends. Smoking is down. Fire is fading. Old icons struggle. The name still carried weight, but the meaning had shifted. Collectors stayed loyal, but new customers were rare. The company tried to respond. New products appeared. Different designs. New categories. But the response felt late, unfocused, defensive. Then came legal pressure. Lawsuits rose around tobacco-related harm. Not always directly connected, but close enough to stain the image. The lighter sat near the problem, too close to escape blame. Public trust began to wobble, not because the product failed, but because the world rejected what it represented. The factory felt it immediately. Shifts were reduced, lines slowed, silence filled spaces once loud. Workers worried. Managers hesitated. Leaders searched for answers. The confidence was gone. Inside meetings, panic replaced patience. Cost cuts followed. Long-term plans vanished. Outside, the story was clear. Zippo was no longer untouchable. The flame that once symbolized freedom now symbolized the past. Customers reacted with indifference. Regulators reacted with force. The public moved on. This was the moment when the problem was no longer internal, no longer theoretical, no longer ignorable. The crisis was real, and it was visible. Control gave way to chaos. The empire had been challenged before, but never like this, because this time the world itself had changed sides. Fire was framed as tradition. Ads spoke of heritage, of history, of loyalty, but the audience had changed. Young people did not want history. They wanted convenience. They wanted health. They wanted something new. The message missed them completely. Next came public relations. Statements were careful, confident, reassuring. Executives said the brand was strong. They said demand would return. They said the concern was overblown. That confidence felt out of touch. Then came legal defenses. Lawyers stepped in. Language hardened. Responsibility narrowed. The company distanced itself from harm. We sell lighters, not cigarettes. Technically true, emotionally empty. Public trust does not follow legal logic. Inside, denial took root. Sales were framed as cycles. Decline was called temporary. Blame shifted outward. Regulators were blamed. Consumers were blamed. Trends were blamed. The product was never questioned. Cost-cutting followed quickly. Shifts were reduced. Budgets were frozen. Innovation slowed further. Research teams shrank. New ideas stalled. Fear replaced creativity. These moves protected cash, but they weakened the future. Collectors noticed the change. Fans felt ignored. Workers felt expendable. The brand felt colder. Every response treated the crisis as a messaging problem, but it was an identity problem. The company tried to defend the flame instead of asking why the flame mattered anymore. Each action pushed people further away. The more they spoke, the less they were believed. The more they tightened control, the less control they had. What once felt confident, now felt desperate. What once felt strong, now felt fragile. The tragedy was simple. They were fighting the wrong battle, and with every move they made the fall harder to stop. Quietly at first, then all at once, stores gave shelf space to others. Cheaper lighters, disposable tools, new devices. What once belonged to Zippo was now contested everywhere. Financial reports changed tone. Strong quarters vanished. Profits thinned. Losses appeared. The numbers told a story no one could argue with. Competitors moved faster. They adapted. They diversified. They followed trends Zippo ignored. Health shifts, convenience culture, digital habits. The gap widened quickly. Inside the company, urgency finally arrived. Restructuring plans formed. Budgets were slashed. Projects were canceled. Then came the hardest moment. Layoffs. Workers who had built the brand were told to leave, not because they failed, but because the world had changed. Entire teams disappeared. Shifts were cut. Floors went silent. Some operations closed. Others shrank. The empire folded inward. The factory that once roared, now echoed. Confidence collapsed with speed. Decisions felt reactive. Leadership chased survival. The rise had taken decades. The fall took years, and it felt unstoppable. Momentum had reversed. The brand still existed, but dominance was gone. The flame still burned, but it no longer led. This was not a slow fade. It was gravity. Once the edge was crossed, there was no stopping the drop. Old assumptions were questioned. Hard truths were spoken aloud. What if we lost our way? What if we forgot why we mattered? There was a return to basics, to craft, to care, to purpose. Engineers revisited designs. Quality was emphasized again. Details were debated. The original promise was repeated. Reliability, longevity, trust. Zippo tried to remember itself. They spoke directly to customers. They honored collectors. They highlighted history. The story shifted from defense to reflection. Some trust returned. Some loyalty held. For a moment, hope flickered. New products appeared. Broader categories. Careful experiments. But the timing was wrong. The world had already moved on. Needs had changed. Habits were gone. What once felt essential
now felt optional. Reputation damage lingered, not from scandal, but from irrelevance. Trust is fragile. Once cracked, it does not reset. The company could still make great products, but greatness alone was no longer enough. Markets had new leaders. Attention had shifted. Fire was no longer central. The effort was sincere. The intent was real. But history does not pause. The comeback never arrived. The flame stayed lit, but smaller. The attempt was noble. The outcome was clear. Sometimes, knowing who you are is not the same as being needed again. No final announcement echoed victory, just silence where noise once lived. The empire did not disappear overnight. It faded. Zippo was still alive, but it was no longer powerful. Once, the factory ruled the day. Machines ran non-stop. Workers filled the floor. The sound was constant. Now, the space felt different. Some lines were shut down. Some buildings stood half-used. Some rooms stayed dark. The factory that once symbolized strength now symbolized survival. The brand remained, but the empire was gone. No longer the leader. No longer the standard. No longer untouchable. What was once global dominance became niche relevance. Collectors stayed. Fans remembered. But the world moved on. New companies owned the future. New habits replaced old rituals. Fire lost its place. The lighter that once meant freedom now meant memory. Leadership focused on staying afloat, not conquering markets, not shaping culture, just enduring. The headquarters still stood, but the power had left it. Where decisions once shaped industries, now they protected what remained. This was not a dramatic shutdown. It was something quieter, something sadder. Irrelevance. The most powerful brands do not always fall loudly. Some simply stop being needed. The contrast was sharp. At the beginning, millions of lighters lit the world. Factories roared. Confidence ruled. At the end, the flame still burned, but no one gathered around it. The empire had become a relic, not destroyed, not disgraced, just finished, and in that silence, the lesson remained. Even the strongest fire can fade, when the world no longer needs its warmth. Legacy and lesson. The cautionary tale. Every empire leaves something behind. Not just buildings, not just products, but meaning. Zippo leaves a lesson. It began with trust. A simple promise. If it breaks, we fix it. That promise built belief. Belief built loyalty. Loyalty built power. But trust is not static. It must be renewed, protected, earned again and again. As success grew, focus slowly shifted. Short-term safety felt smarter than long-term risk. Efficiency replaced curiosity. Protection replaced exploration. Nothing was stolen. Nothing was rushed. Just small compromises, small delays, small comforts. Each one made sense alone. Together, they changed the company. Dominance created blind spots. When you lead the market, you stop watching it. When numbers look strong, warnings sound weak. Growth hid decay. Profit masked relevance loss. The factory still worked. The product still functioned. The brand still existed. But progress had stopped. Success can be dangerous, not because it fails, but because it convinces you that failure is impossible.
By the time decline is visible, it is already deep. That is the quiet danger. Today the factory still runs. Machines still hum. The click still sounds familiar. Zippos still sit on shelves. Shiny, reliable, ready. But the empire is gone. What remains is memory and warning. Greatness is not permanence. Leadership is not safety. History does not protect relevance. The flame that once lit the world still burns. Smaller, quieter. A reminder that even the strongest fire must keep moving or it will slowly run out of air.